Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, retold by Bhaskar, Yogacharya. In the previous episode, we learned about Karma Yoga. Now we shall begin with Gyaan Karam Sannyas Yoga. The fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Gyaan Karam Sannyas Yoga. In this chapter, Shri Krishna glorifies the Karam Yoga and imparts the transcendental knowledge, the knowledge of the soul and the ultimate truth to Arjuna. He reveals the reason behind his appearance in this material world. He reveals that even though he is eternal, he reincarnates time after time to reestablish Dharma and peace on this earth. His births and activities are eternal and never contaminated by material flaws. Those who know and understand this truth engage in his devotion with full faith and eventually attain him. They do not have to take birth in this world again. The Lord said, I taught this imperishable yoga to Vivasan. Vivasan taught it to Manu. Manu declared it to Ikshvaku. Thus handed down in succession. The royal sages knew this Karam Yoga, but with long lapse of time, O Arjun, the yoga was lost to the world. It is the same ancient yoga which is now taught to you by me. And as you are my devotee and my friend, for this is a supreme mystery. Arjun said, later was your birth and earlier the birth of Vivasan? How then am I to understand that you taught it in the beginning? The Lord said, many births of mine have passed to Arjun, and so is it with you also. I know them all, but you do not know them. Though I am birthless and of immutable nature, though I am the Lord of all beings, yet my employing my own nature, Prakriti, I am born out of my own free will. Whenever there is a decline of Dharma, O Arjun, and uprising of Adharma, then I incarnate myself for the protection of the good and also for the destruction of the wicked, for the establishment of Dharma. I am born from age to age. He who thus knows, in truth, my divine birth and actions does not get wrath after leaving the body. He will come to me, Arjun, freed from desire, fear and wrath, absorbed in me, depending upon me, purified by the austerity of knowledge. Many have attained my state. Whoever is sought to me in any manner, in the same manner do I favor them. Men experience me alone in different ways, O Arjun. Those who desire the fruits of their ritualistic acts sacrifice to the gods here for success born of such acts, equally curious in the world of man. The system of 4 stations was created by me, according to the distinction of gunas and karma. Though I am their creator, know me as non-agent and immutable. Works do not contaminate me. In me there is no desire for fruit of actions. He who understands me thus is not bound by actions. Knowing thus, even ancient seekers for liberation work. Therefore do your work only as the ancient did in olden times. What is action? What is non-action? Even the wise are puzzled in respect of these. I shall declare to you the kind of action by knowing which you will be freed from evil. For there is what ought to be known in action. Likewise, there is what ought to be known in multiform action. And there is what ought to be understood in non-action. Thus, mysterious is the way of action. He who sees non-action in action and also action in non-action is wise among men. He is fit for release and has carried out all actions. He whose every undertaking is free from desire and delusive identification of the body and the self. whose actions are burnt up in the fire of knowledge, him the wise describe as sage. Having renounced attachment to the fruits of his actions, ever contented with the eternal self and dependent on none, one does not act at all, even though engaged in action. Free from desire, his intellect and mind controlled, given up all possessions and doing bodily work only, he is not subject to evil. Content with what chances may bring, rising above the pairs of opposite, free from ill will, even-minded in success and failure. Though he acts, he is not bound. Of one whose attachments are gone, who is free, whose mind is established in knowledge, who works only for sacrifices, his karma is entirely dissolved. Brahman is the instrument to offer with. Brahman is the oblation. By Brahman is the oblation offered into the fire of Brahman. Brahman alone is to be reached by him who meditates on him in his works. Some yogis resort only to the sacrifice relating to gods. Others offer sacrifice into the fire of Brahman solely by the means of sacrifice. Others offer as oblation hearing and other senses in the fires of restraint. Some others offer as oblation the objects of the senses, such as sound and the rest, into the fires of their senses. Some again offer as oblation the functions of the senses and the activity of vital breath into the fire of yoga, of restraint of the mind kindled by knowledge. Self-control and firm of resolve. Others perform the sacrifice of material objects and austerities or yoga, while others offer their scriptural knowledge and study. Others with restricted diet are devoted to the control of breath. Some sacrifice the inward breath in the outward breath. Similarly, others sacrifice the outward breath in the inward breath. Some others, stopping the flow of both the inward breath and the outward, sacrifice the inward breaths and outward breaths. All these know the meaning of sacrifice, and through sacrifices are their sins eradicated. Those who subsist on the ambrosial food, the remnants of sacrifice go to eternal Brahman. This world is not for him who makes no sacrifice. How then the other, O Arjun? Thus, many forms of sacrifices have been spread out as a means of reaching Brahman. Individual self in its own nature. Know that all these born of actions. Knowing thus, you shall be free. The sacrifice of knowledge is superior to material sacrifice, O Arjun. All actions and everything else culminate as knowledge. Know this by prostration, estoining, and by service. The wise who have realized the truth will instruct you in the knowledge, knowing which, O Arjun, you will not fail again into delusion in this way. By that knowledge, you will see all beings without exception in your own self and then in me. Even if you be the most sinful of all sinners, you will cross over all sin by the boat of knowledge alone. Just by burning fire turns fuel to ashes, O Arjun, so does the fire of knowledge turns all karmas to ashes. So there is no purifier here. All to knowledge. He that is perfected in Karma Yoga finds this knowledge of his own accord in himself in due time. He who has faith, who is intent on it, and who has mastered his senses, attains knowledge. Having attained knowledge, he goes soon to supreme peace. The ignorant, the faithless, and the doubting one perish. And for the doubting one, there is neither this world nor that beyond, nor happiness. Actions do not bind him, O Arjun, who has renounced them through karma yoga, and whose doubts are centered by knowledge, and who therefore possesses a steady mind. Therefore, sunder with the sword of knowledge this doubt present in your heart, resulting from ignorance concerning the self. Practice this yoga, O Arjun, and rise up. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and stay tuned for other episodes.